week on the Analog Circle podcast. Xbox could have a huge win under their belt after signing a deal with two very respected heads of a studio, allegedly. Nintendo are working on two remasters that have allegedly never appeared on their consoles, but they are Nintendo IPs, so they will be within the realm of what Nintendo does. CEO of SIE Studios Business Group, Herman Hulst, speaks out about PlayStation's strategy when it comes to their games releasing on PC, and some new reports have come out that show the difference between console and PC performance continues to get smaller. But all of these stories can be found here and a lot more in episode 212 of the Analog Circle podcast. I am your host, Kiaun Mitchell, and welcome to the show. Welcome. It is always fantastic to have you guys here. Now, before we actually officially get started into this episode, if you want to be a part of listener feedback, and I definitely, if it was ever a week that I want to hear from you guys, it would be this week, because we are on the cusp of Xbox's show that will be premiering on Sunday. So if you want to be a part of the conversation leading up to the show, be sure to call in at 443-380-0281 and let your voice be heard. Or you can email the show, and the email address is simply the Analog Circle Podcast at gmail.com. So without further ado, my brothers and sisters, let's go ahead and let's get into what we all come here for, and that is the gaming news. Yes, that went down. So this week we will get things started with a story that I actually got from IGN. So it's actually going to start off with a PlayStation 5 exclusive, which is Stellar Blade. So speaking to Famitsu and translated by Genki on X, Stellar Blade director and studio founder Kim Huang Tae, he spells his name Hyungtae, Huang Tae. I know I butchered that brother's name, but pardon me. But him and alongside him, technical director Lee Dong-ji discussed Shift Up's current plans for Stellar Blade and a sequel. Now, they both said the studio plans to add a photo mode and more outfits. Beyond that, they have long-term plans to add more fun updates to the game. Now, as far as the sequel is concerned, neither Kim or Lee alluded to much, but simply said they're reviewing what fans liked about the first game in their considerations for a sequel. So for now, if we have to go off of what they are saying right now, nothing is guaranteed, but they are at least seemingly taking the feedback from what people have appreciated about the first game and are taking into consideration some of those things that they could possibly implement into the sequel. Now, I'm pretty sure that this game will get at least a green light for a sequel, because the game has been very, very successful thus far. But I do love the fact that they are going to be adding a photo mode, different outfits, and they have a long-term plan, in place to add different updates to the game as time goes on. But only time will tell whether or not we will be getting a sequel, but I can almost guarantee that that will be the case, but we shall see. But let's go ahead and let's get into, this was a highlight of the week. This might have been one of the hottest stories of the week outside of the State of Play event that happened, which was good. It was a very, very good event. But let's get into this. This story actually got this from Insider Gaming. Now, this story, like I said, it's very exciting. One marked with nothing but amazing potential. So in a new report from Xputer developer 100 Star, and well, this is what they're called, developer 100 Star and Xbox have reached an agreement on a single player action adventure game that will be of AAA quality. AAA. Now, all right, we're going to cut that off. Yeah. Now, the thing that makes this so exciting is the developer 100 Star has two very pivotal pieces at the helm. Now, this studio is being led by Rocksteady co-founders Jamie Walker and Sefton Hill. And we know, now, please don't judge Rocksteady off of that last game that they made. Don't judge them off of that. With the Suicide Squad, these guys have done nothing but amazing work. And these two, who are the co-founders of Rocksteady, Jamie Walker and Sefton Hill, man, these guys are very, very respected. But let me get to the story. They have come to an agreement. Now, as far as reports go, to have Xbox Game Studios finance the project. Now, outside of that, it's not much more to go off of outside of the fact that the studio's website does mention that the studio is made up of, quote, a small team of only 100 industry veterans and emerging talents who are committed to crafting cutting-edge gaming experiences that inspire and captivate players worldwide. With innovation at our core, we're dedicated to pushing boundaries, embracing diversity, and fostering a vibrant gaming community. Our empowering company culture is unique to the industry, which encourages leadership at all levels, accountability, team support, vulnerability, and connection. End of quote. Now, the thing is, when I think about 100-man studio with different veterans all across the board, the first thing that I think of is the studio, and their name is going to escape me at the minute. Now it seems like the game is actually escaping me at the minute that I was going to use as an example of amazing talent, being able to push the envelope much further than you could ever imagine. The game that I'm thinking of, and you guys have to pardon me for not remembering the name of it, but it was on Xbox One, and it did arrive on PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4. It was a overhead view game, where you had guns. It was pretty hard too. The Ascent. If you have not played The Ascent, man, that team is incredible with what they did. I mean, the game, it was a AA game, but woo-wee did it have some AAA kind of feeling elements to that game. It was definitely AA through and through, but what they were able to accomplish with such a small team of people. Matter of fact, hold on. Where is my joint? I'm going to look up just to see how many people work at that studio. Let's see. Hold on. Here we go. How many people worked on the video game The Ascent?
According to Wikipedia, The Ascent is a cyberpunk-themed action role-playing video game developed by Swedish indie game studio Neon Giant and published by Curve Digital for Microsoft Windows, Xbox Series X, S and Xbox One on the 29th of July 2021. It was developed using Unreal Engine 4 by a team of 12 people and is Neon Giant's debut in the industry.
12 darn people. Golly. 12 veterans made that game, and it was incredible. Shout out to Neon Giant for that. So with these guys actually being at the helm and having a 100-man team full of veterans, I can only imagine what they're going to be able to do. Now, of course, nothing has been 100% confirmed. I have a feeling that we will probably hear something about this at the Xbox show, because the latest rumor that comes along with this is the video game character that they are working on for this game is no other than Spawn. If Spawn gets his own video game, oh shucks, it would be absolutely incredible. It would be Microsoft doing exactly what we have asked of them for years now, that they would finally be getting their own Spider-Man. You guys might not know this, but I was the biggest Spawn fan. I'm sure I've mentioned it on the show before, probably a couple of times, but Spawn, now I'm all tongue-tied. Spawn made me get Mortal Kombat 11. After I saw he was a playable character, I said, I'm sold. I need this. I need it. Because I've been waiting for a Spawn video game. Then when I played as the character in Mortal Kombat, I was beside myself, brothers and sisters. I couldn't believe it. Oh, it was amazing. So if this is the character that they're going to be working on, or the video game that they're going to be working with, Spawn has a really, really good story. Some great villains, Violator. I mean, golly, it depends on where they go. They could go a lot of different ways with the Spawn story. So I am just very interested. His superpowers with his doggone cloak and whatnot, his cape. Oh my gosh. It could be incredible. And having those guys at the helm from Rocksteady, oh my gosh, veterans from the industry. I'm just very, very excited about what this is. Now, whether or not, again, it's Spawn or something else, either way, I am just excited that Microsoft has allegedly, because we got to wait for the official word, but allegedly, as it stands right now, they have signed this deal. They're going to be in charge of the financial part of the project. And I'm taking it that maybe, just maybe, they will make this one exclusive to the Xbox brand, but we shall see. The show is coming up next week. Like I said, I'm hoping that we get some more, even if we don't get more information, if they can just confirm that this is true at the show, that would be fantastic. But if we get gameplay or a story trailer, which I would rather it not be a CG trailer. I would much, much rather see in-game footage of what the game is going to look like, real-time gameplay. But no, it's no buts. I would much rather have that. If they don't have that, just make the announcement, say that y'all have something working, and then take it from there. But we'll definitely keep our eyes and our ears open, to see what happens with this at a later date. Let's go ahead, though, guys, and let's get into the next story that I actually got from Gaming Bolt. So let's talk about Nintendo. So according to a known Nintendo leaker, his name is PH Brazil, who has leaked a few major Nintendo leaks in the past, is now claiming Nintendo is working on 2 remasters. One is from the GameCube and the other is a remaster of a 3DS title. Now, for me, God dog, I got that all wrong at the doggone intro. I said neither one of these had ever appeared on console, but one of them was on GameCube. Golly, my apologies, brothers and sisters. Golly, man. Man, jokers just booed me off the doggone microphone. Darn, okay, golly, my apologies, man. So, anyway, so one is on the GameCube and one was on the 3DS. Now, for me, I'm hoping the 3DS remaster will be no other than Metroid Samus Returns. That's what I'm hoping for. Now, as far as whatever was on GameCube, I had a GameCube. I even still have it. Matter of fact, am I looking at it right now? Can't find it on my shelf. I must have it in my closet. But I was a GameCube owner. And like I said, my favorite game on GameCube was Beautiful Joe. I loved Beautiful Joe. Thought it was a fantastic game. Really would love a sequel, Capcom. What's going on? You know, but we haven't got that yet. Yeah, we'll see, man. As far as, like I said, GameCube, man, I don't know. They already did, Metroid, that's already been done. The first person shooter version of Metroid, I believe that was on GameCube. I know it was on Wii, but either way, that's been done. Hopefully, like I said, they'll take it and give us Samus on the 2D side, you know, because that game almost made me buy a 3DS. But then when I saw how much the 3DS cost after they stopped selling it to get that bundle, I said, oh man, I'm going to have to take a rain check on that. But I'm curious to know, what game do you think, or what games, pardon me, do you guys think that they will be making, if it's one from GameCube and one from the Nintendo 3DS? I mean, the GameCube, like I said, I just can't really think of anything right now. I doubt if they do another Star Fox remaster. I don't think that'll happen. But they had a couple of joints on GameCube that were pretty good. But you know, that was one of their weaker. That was one of their weaker outings. Even though they definitely had some gems that were inside of it. But we shall see, though. We'll see. I'm trying to get you guys out of here within an hour. We're gonna try to keep this one a little more tight than we have been, you know, in the past couple of weeks. But let's go ahead and let's get into the next story, though, that I actually got from Digital Trends. Now, it's always been a debate on why PC is so much better than console. And one of those factors has always been PC's high frame rate. Well, it looks like current consoles are continuing to shrink that gap, courtesy of AMD's Fidelity FX Super Resolution, or they call it FSR3. Now, it's being reported that in the first test on Xbox Series X, it resulted in a up to 72% performance uplift. It went up 72% on the Xbox Series X for the performance. Now, this came courtesy of a game that I would highly recommend you guys check out. This is coming courtesy of Immortals of Avium, where Digital Foundry ran their analysis, where normally the game ran at around 30 to 60 frames per second. But now that FSR3 is supported on all platforms, as of the latest patch in Immortals of Avium, it brought the frame rate count up to between 46 to 80 frames per second, giving the frames per second in the game a increase of 72%, man. 72%! Taking it from 46 to 80 frames, starting out from 30 to 60 because of this FSR3. That is incredible. Now, Digital Foundry commented on this and explained that the game went from, like I said, a fairly inconsistent 40 to 60 frames per second game to something that runs at a stable higher refresh rate. And to further show how much of a difference FSR 3 has made, John Linneman noted that the game almost feels like 120 frames per second game. And this is on console. And what makes this even more impressive, if that wasn't impressive enough, what makes this even more impressive is this game is running on Unreal Engine 5 on Xbox. God darn Xbox. Give you a round of applause for that. Unreal Engine 5 and it's running this good. Golly. Man. Now, of course, they had to put some caveats in there as far as the article went, because they did say, some of the caveats are things that may not be as up to snuff. Is it was noted that some visual artifacts and freezing do occur, or at times the FPS will drop to 0 and frame stutters. But problems aside, those were some of the problems, but those problems aside, some of the frames dropping to 0 or frame stutters or some visual artifacts, all of that put to the side, this is a huge leap for console players. And I'm sure that it's only going to get better because, to be fair, this is still new tech and they're going to continue to work on it. Now, with that, though, the gap, like I was saying before, the gap with frames per second on console versus PC, it is getting shorter and shorter and shorter. For this to be running this well. Now, this was interesting, though, because I can't say that as I read the article, they may have brought up the PlayStation 5, but they put all of their emphasis on the Xbox Series X for this situation. So with that, that really is impressive that the Series X is able to run a Unreal Engine 5 game at doggone, what did I say? It's running it at, hold on. Let me look this up again. Between 46 and 80 frames per second. And John Linneman coming out there saying that the game almost feels like it's running at 120. That's what it feels like. So this gets me very, very excited. And I'm so glad. I am so happy that doggone Immortals of Avium made this a feature inside of their game. They gave the patch out, and here it is. Once again, continuing to work on the game, even though the game has not sold well at all. Even though, despite any of that, they continue to work on the game and make it better. And by them doing this, if you really want to get that frame boost, excuse me, guys, really feel the difference with this game that is running on Unreal Engine 5, you got to get Immortals of Avium. The game has been on sale time and time again. I picked it up from Best Buy. I think I paid $30 for the game, $30 for the physical copy. And even check this out, even if you are leery and weary about picking it up, they have a demo. That was what turned me on to it. The demo, I'm sure, is still live. You can probably still download it. I don't see why not. If you just want to check it out, do that. Check it out that way. But this game is really, really good. I stand by that. And just the fact, again, that they are giving you these features inside of the game, Man, this is just awesome. I'm really looking forward to seeing how much further they'll be able to take this new technology, this new FSR3 technology. I can't wait to see how they actually continue to implement it and make it better when it comes to console, because goodness gracious, a couple of people have already said that you can't beat the value that you get from a console as far as the performance versus a PC. And there was also some other stats that came out about PC that said that hardly any of those guys have the 4090s, the 4080s, even the 30 series isn't as prevalent in the PC community as they would have you think. Matter of fact, let's see if we can check out some numbers on this. Let's see if they'll bring something up. This is a long shot, but we'll try to see if we can find something. What is the percentage of PC gamers running a 4090? It says, what percentage of Steam gamers have 4090? It says, according to the latest survey, the RTX 4090 is in 0.96 of gaming PCs running Steam more than any individual AMD GPU. Golly, and this was just taken on May 2nd, 2024. So all of these PC gamers acting like, oh man, I'm blowing out the PlayStation 5, the Xbox Series X. It can't touch my rig. My rig is amazing. That's for 0.96 of you mother lovers. None of y'all have this card. You know what? I'll even bump it down. I'll bump it down. How many PC players own a 3090? What GPU? Let's see, 3090. Matter of fact, all right, let me do a 3080 because nothing is showing up with that. How many PC players own a 3080? All right, this was January. Man, okay, so this was January 5th of 2021. Wow, my birth date. It says the data from the December Steam survey shows the GeForce RTX 3080 first appeared in November, used by 0.23% of Steam users. Y'all,
this man!
Man, y'all dudes are capping. Oh, man. Goodness gracious. Big time cap. Up here talking about console peasants. What? And you jokers are liars. Man, 0.23%. That's for a 3080. Oh, man. Yeah. Oh, my goodness. I'm feeling fantastic about my doggone console, about my PlayStation 5. And I might be getting that Series X. I don't know. That thing is still kind of calling me a little bit, so I might even have a Series X soon. But yeah, man, you PC guys, goodness gracious, y'all really trip me out with the stuff that y'all say about console, knowing y'all want these console games. Matter of fact, before we go any further, golly, doggone Herman Hulst. Matter of fact, we are going to pull up a clip right here of Mr. Herman Hulst because PlayStation, ooh-wee. These jokers got a little bit of hate this week. Yeah, talking about PC, talking about PlayStation games going to the PC. Many people believe that during this meeting that Herman Hulst, him along with others, had at Sony, that they were going to announce that PC games from PlayStation games going to PC, it was going to be day and date. And that was where they were going to announce it at this financial meeting that they had. Well, let's go ahead and let's chime in because we're going to leave this this story a little, put this one on the back burner. We're going to move forward, and we're going to hear exactly what Herman Hulst said when it comes to PlayStation games going to PC.
Indeed, we are bringing our titles to the PC platform, and we have a dual approach here. On the live service side, we are releasing our titles simultaneously, so day and date, on PlayStation 5 and PC, but with our tentpole titles, our single-player or narrative-driven titles that are, as you saw in the presentation, the backbone of what PlayStation Studios has delivered in recent years and in our history, we take a more strategic approach, and we introduce our great franchises to new audiences, and we're finding new audiences that are potentially going to be very interested in playing, for example, sequels on the PlayStation platform. We have high hopes that we're actually able to bring new players into PlayStation at large, but into PlayStation platforms specifically. Actually, the same goes for the work that we do with extending our great properties onto other media, such as television series and film, for example, as you have seen with The Last of Us on HBO or Gran Turismo, the film, that brings in new players into our franchises as well.
Golly, man. So all of you guys that thought that they were going to follow in Microsoft's footsteps, not even. Now, granted, he did say that their multiplayer titles, they will both be available on PlayStation and PC, day and date. But for those single player titles, for those Last of Us's, I know that don't make sense, but those Last of Us's, for those God of Wars, for the doggone Ratchet and Clanks, for the Spider-Mans, you got to get a PlayStation 5 to play those, because those are not going to PC day and date. Man, oh man, these jokers were out there. I listened to a couple of these podcasts. Well, shucks, he ain't say it right now, but guess what? In a year or so, they going to definitely do that. They got to do it. They have to do it. Why do they have to do it? That's my question. Why do they have to do what Microsoft is doing? Microsoft is how would you say, they are a blueprint for what not to do when it comes to this kind of situation. They have shown time and time again that once you do that, you take away any reason for anybody to go out and get your console. Now, granted, Microsoft is Microsoft. They are a $1 trillion company, $3 trillion, if I'm not mistaken, dollar company. So they have a much, much different philosophy versus PlayStation where Sony, they are very, very much so reliant on selling their PlayStations, the PlayStation console. That is where a nice chunk of their revenue comes from. So why would they, for that reason alone, why would they do something to hurt the brand that is bringing in a nice chunk of money into their establishment? They wouldn't do that. Xbox, like I said, not Xbox, but Microsoft, these guys have a ton of money that they're working with, so much so that they're saying no console required. We see exactly what they're doing, but we also see the results of what has happened to them since they have started doing this. So if PlayStation was a little tempted to go down that same path, they have a whole blueprint on how it's going to turn out. Even some people, of course, 1 or 2 articles absolutely does not speak for a huge group of people, but I saw 1 or 2 articles that said now that PlayStation games are coming to PC, I no longer need a PlayStation, and this is a couple of years from now. Now, granted, he could have been talking about the multiplayer or whatever. This was just the headline. The headline was really catchy, but I didn't check out the whole article. So he could have completely flipped it on its head and said something else like, well, I just mean it for the multiplayer. But that was the headline, and that's pretty much what he ran with. But I just don't know why they would do that. Again, everybody's talking about the sky's falling when it comes to the industry, and to a certain degree, absolutely, it is in a very, very different kind of a situation, definitely. But to say that Sony is in the same boat as Xbox, or I should say, PlayStation is in the same boat as Xbox, that is a reach. That is past a reach. That's just a flat out lie. Those jokers over at Xbox couldn't sell 1 million copies. Well, not 1 million copies, but 1 million consoles in a quarter. They didn't even break 1 million sales in 3 months with the Series X. Right now, the PlayStation, I think they missed their mark by some small percentage. It wasn't much, but they did miss it, but it wasn't by much. So yeah, just to put that to bed for now. Of course, things can change further on down the road. Who knows? Maybe in a year, maybe they do announce, okay, games are going to PC, day and date with PlayStation games. I truly would hope they wouldn't do that because, again, some people are just waiting in the wind to just have a reason to say, I don't need a PlayStation. I will jump on PC. And that's that. And sometimes, you know what? I think that also the other thing why so many people, well, not so many, but why some Xbox fans, certain Xbox fans, definitely not all, but why some of them want the games on PlayStation to go to PC day and date is because misery loves company. You just want, some people just really want it to be a situation where they actually put themselves on even footing with the Xbox brand, where they can look over there and say, ha ha, your games are on the PC day and date just like mine. You ain't no better. Your console ain't no better. Your games ain't no better. Y'all couldn't do it by yourself. PlayStation needed help from the PC guys. Look at y'all now. It's like, man, some people just want to see it play out that way. Simply to just be able to have something to say because of this console war and this game banging, GAME, banging out here. Shout out to Z for the terminology. Yes, indeed. Some people just want to keep the console war going, and that's just another clip in the chamber for somebody to be able to fire off while we out here console warring with each other. But for right now, you ain't got those bullets. That's not happening right now. Now, granted, who knows what's going to happen down the road? We don't know. But for now, Herman Hulst has spoken. He said what he said. And, it's going to be what it's going to be. But anyway, with that being said, good grief, we got to move on because we almost 38 minutes in. And I'm still trying to reach for this hour to get y'all out of here. So let's go ahead and let's get into the next story that I actually got from WCCF Tech. So let's talk about the PlayStation 5 Pro. So Moore's Law is Dead made an appearance on the latest episode of the Broken Silicon podcast, where he reported that the PlayStation 5 Pro has been ready for release since last year. But the console's launch may have been delayed so it could release when the big titles come to market. Now, he even mentioned some of the hardships where he reported at some point the console was unlikely to release, but they kept working on it and the system's final silicone was completed and ready for release last year. Yeah, he's saying that the PlayStation 5 Pro could have been released last year, according to him, because they got that final silicone that they needed. But because of them wanting to, or Sony that is, wanting to release this during the time when they have some bigger games out on the market, they delayed it. Now, I think at some point in time, I can't say for sure. I'm not even going to comment on what I was thinking. I'll tell you this. I was going to say I thought I heard something about the PlayStation 5 Pro last year, but I could have been tripping a little bit. I don't know. I do know, shout out to Z though. Shout out to Z and the Broadband Bullies. I remember Z was the first person. Matter of fact, this was back in like 2020. Where Z had commented and said that he knew that a PlayStation 5 Pro was actually coming out. He knew it. And nobody at that time was talking about it because the PlayStation 5 and the Series X had just come out. And he was already talking about the Pro. So I got to give that brother that credit. Shout out to him for that, man. Yes, sir. So this thing, it is very, very possible that last year this thing could have been done, but they're just trying to hold off until the bigger games come out. And if this does release during the holiday season, Sony has already went on record and said to not expect anything from them until at least March of 2025. So that would be roughly about a 3-month period that people would have to wait, but they're still going to have some things that are going to happen. And I don't know if you guys saw it. I mean, of course I saw it, but that state of play, that Astrobot, oh my gosh, brothers and sisters, I was so hyped up about that. Man, when I saw that trailer and I saw Astrobot over near that PlayStation 5 looking joint, I said, is that the Pro? Is that the Pro right there that we get the first hand look at? And we don't even know officially because that Joker was, pardon me, that Joker was black. It didn't look like the PlayStation 5 at all. I mean, look, I might have been reaching because I really want this thing to be real. But I said, God dog, in my mind, that was the PlayStation 5 Pro. If you go look back at that trailer, you'll see it. And I'm like, golly, that game right there. I am so excited. Team Asobi, this is their first big break on being able to actually make a big game. Matter of fact, they said this is the biggest game that they've ever made. And I'm just sitting there so excited for September. I cannot wait. I know they are going to go ham when it comes to putting those different doggone features into the controller. Oh my goodness. I know they are going to be on 100 when it comes to this. So I'm very, very excited. I believe they said it's going to have 80 levels that you're going to be able to play, which is gigantic, man. That is just huge. I'm just very, very excited. To me, the PlayStation State of Play, I know a lot of people were actually down on it, but for me, I was like really impressed. They had a little bit of something for me. It was like, when I say they had a little bit of, I should have said they had quite a few titles in there that I might not have been interested in, but the way that they presented them, I'm like, dag, man, that joint don't look bad. I mean, that doggone Concord, man, that is a online shooter. Y'all know me, man. I ain't trying to do all of that. But they kind of hooked me a little bit when they talked about actually the game having some kind of story beats to it and giving you cinematic scenes at the beginning of every week to try to, well, not try to, but to keep up with what's going on with the characters. I was like, ooh, that's a little not, maybe not tempting, but I could definitely say semi-tempting, to actually jump into something like that to get a story, but yet it's still multiplayer. I don't know. They might be on to something. Like I said, man, I might have to keep my eye on that, but I thought it was a really, really good show. Like I said, an 8 out of 10 for me. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I really did. I thought it was good, man. But anyway, let's go ahead though. I done went on my whole rant and whatnot, ranting and raving and whatnot. We'll go ahead and let's get into the next story. Am I going to get y'all out of here? I doubt it. Daggone it. I ain't going to get y'all out of here in an hour. But let's go into this next story that I also got from WCCF Tech. Now, this was some time ago. It was a report that was released. They talked about multiple developers having a hard time developing for the Series S. And because of that, it had a big impact on how the games were released. Well, God dog it. It seems like this trend continues to be a thing because now, according to Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 producer Martin Klima, he confirmed that due to the Series S technical limitations, namely the 10 gigabytes of RAM, it has impacted the scope of the game as the weakest current generation console. Now, the Series S it only has 25% more RAM it has 25% more RAM. Warhorse Studios decided to make the game only 25% bigger than the previous entry that they had. Now, it's also been reported that the PlayStation 5 and Series X versions of the game will run at 4K 30 frames per second, and the Series S will run at 1440p at 30 frames per second. So it looks like because of the shortcomings of the Series S, this game, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, they only did a 25% bump as far as making the game bigger than the previous entry into the franchise. So this continues to be a situation. I really wish that Xbox would cut the Series S off, but I also understand that it's a huge population of people that actually have the Series S. So if they were to do that, they would be cutting off a pretty big chunk of their financials, as it were, their money pipeline. So we'll see what happens with this. It seems like the Series S is going to be here to stay for the rest of this generation. And, maybe that's why in 2026, which I'm still very leery about because of the conversations that we've heard about Xbox actually possibly having third party make some hardware for them for the upcoming generation. If that's the case, I'm not going to be excited at all. But if they are going to continue to make their own hardware, then maybe they'll have something. But I was just saying that in 2026, maybe that's why they're trying to, target that year, because they're trying to get out of this Series S type of situation that they find themselves in and try to do a complete refresh to another generation because of the Series S being such a hindrance. But we shall see. But let's go ahead and let's get into the next story. So this next story is this is actually a pretty good one. It's very interesting, bare minimum. So the thing is, I don't know how this is going to turn out, but if reports coming from PlayStationLifestyle.net are anything to go off of, this could be, like I said, very interesting, bare minimum. So since Sony Ben has finished working on Days Gone, we don't 100% know what it is they're working on. I mean, at one point in time, we heard rumors it could be a multiplayer game, but nothing is certain. But one extremely interesting, now this was interesting. One interesting detail has been revealed from Days Gone director Jeff Ross, who said, quote, "Whatever it is, they've spent at least $250 million on it. I'm no businessman, but that's crazy, given the fact Sony didn't want to fund a DG sequel or Days Gone sequel for the bargain basement price of $150 million. Insane numbers all around. TBH, or to be honest. End of quote. So it looks like, according to Jeff Ross, whatever Sony Bend is working on, that comes out to what, about $250 million that they're giving them for a budget, which, golly, I mean, listen, don't quote me on this, but do multiplayer games cost that much? That sounds like that's way above the range of how much a multiplayer game would cost. So could it be a situation, and you guys chime in, let me know your thoughts, let me know if I'm way off base with that or if I'm pretty much in line. But that leads me to believe that this game, it could be possibly a single player game. And I know the game that everybody has been asking for that falls underneath Sony Bend's jurisdiction. And that is no other than, say it with me, Siphon Filter. Siphon Filter. Now, how would that hold up today? I don't know. I have no idea how that game would hold up. We haven't seen Siphon Filter in over 20 years. Doggone near 30 maybe. It's been a long, it ain't quite been 30, but it's been a long time since we've seen that Joker. You know, but I would love to know what it is they're working on. Jeff Ross, he doesn't know because he said whatever it is, so he has no real idea. He just knows about that budget. And I will say again, this is allegedly how much they're spending on Sony Bend Studios, because as always, we got to take this stuff with a mustard seed of truth until Sony comes out. And I mean, they've never said how much they've spent on a game, flat out came out and said it. But eventually, the numbers do get released in due time on how much these games cost. Just like we would have never known how much Spider-Man 2 cost, but those numbers now, unfortunately, that was a leak, which was, that was horrible because I'm such a Insomniac fan. That was horrible, but we did find out the numbers. So it could be a situation where hopefully it won't come from a leak, but, we'll get the actual numbers of how much this next project is going to be funded from Sony. So once again, it doesn't seem like, if these reports are true, that they are slowing down on the spending, as it were. Hiroki Totoki, he doesn't seem like he's nailing them to the wall too much right now. Again, if this report is to be believed. So who knows? Now, this was another thing. That's what I meant to say when I was talking about the state of play. They actually said, now I don't know how true this is, but they said that if you were not impressed at state of play, what you saw and you thought it was mediocre or it was the worst show ever. Cause I saw some people giving the show a 4, a 3. I'm like, golly, I don't know what y'all talking about. That's extreme. But again, maybe they had much bigger expectations than me. I always thought of this show as an appetizer. This is not the main course. This is just to hold you over until that meal comes out, the main meal. They're supposed to fill you up. That's how I took this show. I think some other people took it like this was the showcase when it wasn't. But if you did fall in that boat where you were not impressed, this was not the show for you, this was not what you thought Sony was going to show, they did say to be on the lookout for Summer Game Fest, because several games are allegedly supposed to be shown off during that show that are supposed to be explosive. Now, granted, again, we got to take it with a mustard seed of truth that it's going to be explosive, amazing, and all of that. We got to wait to see. But hopefully that is the case, because I don't think any of us want to wait until September, that alleged September date or month that they're supposed to be having the state of play. we definitely, well, for some, I felt pretty good about the state of play. I thought they gave me enough. They gave me Astrobot. God dog, that was all I needed. Good old Astro. That was all I needed. I got that. That's coming out in September. They got other games coming out in September. By the way, they also slashed the price of the PlayStation VR 2 by $100 for, I think, the next couple days at this point. I think it was supposed to be about a week or two that it was supposed to be slashed, because I went to Best Buy just to check to see if they really did it and to make sure that it wasn't at specific retailers. I went to Best Buy. That joker had $100 off. It's still super expensive at $450, but $100 off is no small feat. So if you were interested in a PSVR 2, maybe that $100 off might be exactly where you were looking for it to be, and you might want to go out there and pick it up. But again, hopefully we do get something else. I know a lot of people wanted to, hear about Ghost of Tsushima 2 or what Naughty Dog is working on or something like that. We'll just have to wait and see if that is the case. But I sure am hoping that we see something at Summer Game Fest, because I am absolutely ready to see what is happening this week. This is a big week coming up, guys. I'm so darn excited about it. But let me go ahead and let's move on in to our final story for the week. And I actually got this from Games Radar. So Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick had some very suspicious comments to say while he was attending an interview at TD Cowen's 52nd annual Technology, Media, and Telecom Conference, where he claimed that generative AI could allow the company's developers to, quote, do a bunch of stuff more efficiently. So we'll turn our attention to other things, and those other things will probably still be costly and time consuming. End of quote. So those statements seem, innocent enough, nothing too much, to throw a red flag on, no red flags on the play. But here is where things become suspect. Now he says, quote, I also don't think for a minute that generative AI is going to reduce employment. That's crazy. It's actually crazy. It's not going to make people irrelevant. It's going to change the nature of certain forms of employment, and that's a good thing. End of quote. I don't trust them.
Boo this man!
I don't trust this brother at all. This guy is the same one that just got rid of 600 employees, shut down 2 studios that were doing good work, doing very good work by some people's standards, but yet he gave himself millions of dollars of a raise once he got rid of these people. So for him to come out and say that jobs won't be affected, things are going to run the same, this is crazy to even think such a thing could happen, I don't trust it. I don't trust it at all. I know that earlier in the week, and shout out to Cody Clark for sending me the article, I know that Neil Druckmann, he was saying something about the AI, and we covered it in listener feedback, but that got him into some hot water, so I don't know about this. I mean, just looking at the industry as a whole, looking at what is going on with all of these different cuts and, reductions and people losing their jobs. And, so many things are just so uncertain in the industry. I would not trust any new technology coming in that looks like it could take over any job, because if it can, they will allow it to. And that's going to, unfortunately, and I do mean that, unfortunately, be the end of a lot of different people's jobs that were in that position to be taken over by a doggone computer, AI. it's just a rough time. Again, the only thing that I'm hoping is that, of course, that the people that unfortunately are losing their positions, losing their jobs, that they land on their feet. I really hope that. I really do, because I wouldn't want. And anyway, I hope that happens. And the other thing that I hope that continues to happen in the gaming industry is that we keep that human element. We keep that thing that you just feel as a human being, and it's not so robofied, as it were, but we'll see what happens with this. Strauss Zelnick, I don't know about that guy. But anyway, that is the end of the gaming news this week, which leads us to video game theater. And in this week's video game theater, we will be taking a look back at a game that I absolutely have loved. Introduced me to Telltale games and the whole nine. We're going to be taking a look back at The Wolf Among Us. And in this scene, it gets a little, how would you say? It gets a little sticky. It's a little bit of feeling like you're being betrayed, or a certain character has been betrayed. But we're going to get into it. And after this week's video game theater, we will get into the final section of the podcast. So with that being said, let's get into it, and we will be back right after this. Stay tuned, guys.
Well, that's weird. This key is supposed to open every room in the building, but it's not working.
Beauty!
Beast?
Big B? How could you do this to me?
No, sweetie, no. Wait a minute.
How could you do this? We've been together through everything. I took care of you. I love...
It's not what you think. Please.
You're cheating on me! With him?
No, Beast. I promise I'm not. I'm helping him. That's all.
I'll bet! I'm sure you help each other just great! I know what this place is!
This is a murder investigation. She's helping me.
Stop lying to me! What the f*** is wrong with you? She's my wife!
Beast, listen to me. There's nothing going on. I'm not...
Hey!
Bastard! I guess I finally see you for who you are!
Stop it!
Is this you staying out of it? I thought I could trust you!
Listen to your wife. Just calm down and...
Beast! What the hell do you think you're doing? You aren't even listening to me!
She's my wife, Bigby!
I told you! Stop! Please! Leave him be! This is my fault! Please, no! I understand! Bigby, no! Don't hurt him!
Ooh, those jokers was going at it. The Wolf Among Us 2013 was a heck of a year. Oh, man. Yeah, that game had me on the semi-edge of my doggone seat. I'm telling you, come on, Telltale. God, dog. Please, Skydance, come out with the sequel. We are waiting in anticipation. That game right there, that solidified me giving all of the other Telltale games a shot. Batman, that series, Borderlands, I bought that, didn't play it, but I bought it, and it made me buy the whole, Walking Dead, series, from beginning to end. It all stemmed with that game right there. So shout out to them for making a great game. Telltale, that is, within the, Wolf Among Us, I guess, universe, as it were. I love the fables and all. Anyway, okay, all right, I'm getting long-winded. Here we go. God dog. All right, so with that being said, man, let's get into the final section of the podcast. Pardon my long-windedness. Had to cut myself off. But God dog, the thing is, you guys have already seen the question. Oh man, this is gonna be a good one. This is gonna be a good one. So the question that I have for you guys this week, and I thank you guys for being here again. I greatly appreciate it. But what will we see? What will we see at the Xbox showcase? Now, this is the one. Now, we know that Xbox has had a lot of ups and downs this year alone. Throughout their history over the last 10 years, oh, it's been shaky and rocky out here. But now that we're at this place, they have all of these studios. They got a ton of talent. What do you think we see? Now, we were told that Doom is supposed to be there. We were told that, good grief, what's the name of it? State of Decay maybe making an appearance. Gears of War 6 could be there, which that would be incredible if that made an appearance. Collateral is supposed to finally be released. Well, not released, but some more gameplay footage is supposed to come out about that. I mean, we got this deal with Microsoft and the founders of Rocksteady. That's allegedly happening. Do we get the announcement? Because I mentioned it earlier, but just bringing this full circle. Do we actually get that announcement at the show where they say, yes, we have signed on with Microsoft and we are creating Spawn the video game? Oh my gosh, I would lose it. That right there. Oh my gracious, man, brothers, you don't know. Doggone, I might have to go out that same day and pick up a darn Xbox. I mean, that's how much I would love to hear that announcement. Do we get an update on Fable? Is Fable going to make another appearance, but this time with a release date? It's so many different things that we could see. We could see Perfect Dark there. That's a big possibility. I mean, we know Call of Duty is going to be there, but during the show, do they finally say when all of these other Call of Duties are going to go into Game Pass? Do they make the announcement that this is the day that these certain Activision games are going to go into the service? And then from that point on, every 2 weeks, expect this one and that one and that one and this one to also drop in the service that are Activision games as well. I mean, this show right here, God dog it, this could be big. This could be big. I mean, I just want to live in the now, and not worry about 2026 or whatever's going on then. We understand certain things are on the horizon. We get it. A lot of questions that need to be answered, with the direction of Xbox. But just for this week, I just want to concentrate on the games, man. That's all. Just the fun stuff that gaming is about, man. I want to just concentrate on just wondering, what are they going to show? So I want to hear from you. Like I say, this week, listen, I want to hear from y'all because I want to go over this. This stuff is so exciting to me. This is the Super Bowl. This is Super Bowl season for us gamers. So I want to hear your predictions. I want to know what you think is going to be at the show. I want to be able to record an episode leading up to it's not E3, but leading up to the Xbox showcase to get me hype, to hear what you guys think are going to be there. I can't wait to hear from y'all. If you want to be a part of the conversation, you can do it two different ways. You can either call in at 443-380-0281 and let your voice be heard, or you can email the show. And the email address is the analogcirclepodcast@gmail.com. I was your host, Kiaun Mitchell, and like I say always, thank you guys for being here. Thank y'all. Oh, it's going to be a good week. Oh, my goodness. Been watching this stuff since what? 2000. What does that say? 2004? I'm looking at my E3 DVD up there. I think 2004 I've been watching this stuff, man, since. And it still gets me hyped, man. 20 years later. 20 years later. And I'm still just as excited. Like, man, this thing is still like brand new. You know, so this is like the week that I kind of stay off of social media, stay away from online, you know, too much. I don't really try to get too heavy into the conversations that are going on or the news, because sometimes things leak. I mean, last year they were solid though. Microsoft had 0 leaks of any kind last year. So hopefully this year they'll be able to do the same. But anyway, we're about to wrap this up, guys. Really, really looking forward to hearing from y'all. But before we officially wrap this thing up and put a bow on it, always remember one thing. It is not about the consoles. It is about the game. So depending on y'all, possibly on Wednesday, when we do it again, until then, you guys take care. Be safe out there. Bye-bye.